On your screen is the 18-year-old youngster Praggnanandhaa. He's up against the world champion Ding Liren. Their classical game ended in a draw where Ding was pressing with the white pieces, and now we are into the Armageddon territory where Ding has 10 minutes and white pieces, must win scenario for him, and Pragg has 7 minutes and black pieces, and a draw would mean he would win the game and the match. And there we go, a handshake, and Ding opens with c4, knight f6, g3. Now, in the classical game, Pragg had opted for the e5 setup, but here he goes for e6, bishop g2 and d5. Very solid knight f3 played by Ding, and now Pragg can go for the very solid move bishop e7, or he can go for a much more ambitious move d4. He plays d4. And why is this ambitious? Because you're moving the same piece or same pawn twice in the opening, which is not really a good idea, but here you gain space. And let's see how Ding responds. You can see him taking his time here. He castles quickly and pawn to c5, e3, knight c6, both players making their moves rapidly. In fact, here bishop d6 is one of the main moves, but Pragg prefers to put his bishop on e7. And now Ding has to decide how to continue. You can see him adjusting himself on the chair. Now, Ding has not had a particularly great last year. So clearly when playing rapid chess against a player like Praggnanandhaa, you can say that he might be a small, Pragg might be a small favorite here, especially because he has to draw with the black pieces. We'll see how this game continues here. Ding is taking his time. He takes on d4. His advantage, which was of 3 minutes, has now come down to roughly 2 minutes. Pragg is moving very quickly, and a very nice move by Ding, knight a3. This has been played before by Pragg, and he has gone for the move bishop c5 here, maybe against Anish Giri. This is what happened, but this knight a3 move, your idea is to put the knight on c2 and go for b4. h6 is played by Pragg, which is a fine move here, stopping bishop g5 ideas. And Ding can now continue with bishop f4. He can bring his knight back to c2. So many options here for him. He goes for bishop f4, which is a good move. Now controlling the e5 square. If white gets knight e5, bishop e5, then it opens up both the bishops here and should be completely fine. So let's see how Pragg continues here. He can go back knight d7 in order to stop a piece from coming to e5. But he goes bishop c5. And does this allow knight e5? Well, it does, but after takes, because he's defended this pawn, knight d7 is an excellent move. So bishop c5 has its upsides. Later on, rook e8 and e5 can be played here. So that's the reason why now knight e5 is not so strong. Also, time-wise, Pragg has 5 minutes 52 seconds. Ding has 8 minutes on the clock. How is Ding going to continue here? Maybe a very logical option is knight c2, a3 and b4. This seems like a plan to go for, especially because knight e5 doesn't look appetizing. I'm actually quite impressed by Ding's calmness in the opening. You know, he's going very slow and steady. He is now down to 7 minutes 34 seconds. Pragg has 5 minutes 40 seconds here. And for the time being, you want to try and engineer e5. So knight d7 could be an idea to later on go for e5 move. Is Pragg going to do this? He's taking his time here. I mean, for Praggnanandhaa, not so sure what are the other options. You can go rook e8, knight d7. He goes knight d7, which is logical. Still, e5 is not possible because white controls it 3 times. But rook e8 next or f6. f6 is impossible. e6 is hanging. But a5, He stops it b3 played. Now, Ding wants to go b4, but he can't do it instantly because, let's say rook b1, there's a4, clamping the pawn. So he first plays b3, but now Pragg can go rook e8, and I think that would help him here. Yes, he does it, rook e8, and Ding just comes back. He's like, Pragg, you can go e5 if you want to, but my plan is simple. I am going b4 here. So this is definitely getting slightly better for white. Ding has followed this plan quite meticulously and pushes b4. In fact, Ding has played this position already before once, which is very interesting. Bishop d6 played, and this is against Anton Guyaro. He played this opening already. Let's see how the game continues. Now, two moves. One is b5. By the way, against Anton, he went rook b1. b5 may not be the best move because after knight b8, c5 square is lost in the long run. So a better pawn push could be c5 here. Yes, he pushes his pawn to c5, and Pragg can go back to c7, also back to f8. I think c7 is a bit risky because let's say something like b5, knight b8, b6 traps the bishop. So you have to be careful about this idea, and that's the reason why bishop f8 makes a lot of sense. Praggnanandhaa taking his time here. He has 4 minutes and a few seconds. He goes bishop f8, 4 minutes on the clock. Ding has 6 minutes 45 seconds, so 2 minutes 45 seconds lead on the clock. Ding Liren has maintained his time advantage well. How should white continue next is the question. Now his knight is not particularly great here on c2. He would like to improve it, but from where? Well, knight a1 to b3 could be an idea here, and that's the reason why you move away the rook. Rook b1 or rook c1. Both these moves look very interesting. Ding taking his time for this one. Knight on f3 is well placed. I believe moving the rook seems like the most logical thing to do. The big advantage that white has is his queenside majority here, coupled with this bishop putting pressure. This can become something very, very difficult for black to handle. Look at Ding taking all his time here, trying to make the best move. Oh, he wanted to play rook b1 and now goes rook c1. Very interesting. But the concept is the same. He wants to play knight a1 to b3. Now Pragg should not take, because if you take, it only helps white. Later the knight also gets the a3 square. So maybe a good idea now is to play rook b8 directly, or somehow rook up to e7, queen e8. Yeah, like the position already seems uncomfortable for black somehow. You know, you've played the opening logically, you have these pawns in the center, you have the space in the center, but somehow white pawns have so beautifully placed here, and also this maneuver knight a1, knight b3 is so natural. Pragg takes, Ding takes back, and right now we are on move number 19. Pragg is down to 3 minutes on the clock. He needs to make 20 more moves. Rook b8 is a big mistake because Pragg completely misses that now the knight can come here. Earlier his rook was controlling, but the knight can come to a3 to c4 to d6 or a3 to b5, knight a3. Oh, Pragg actually didn't miss it. He plays b5. The point is that if you take here, then knight b4 and black is better. But the best move here for white is knight g5. A fantastic move. If you take here, I take on c6. b5 is completely weak. So knight g5 is a very nice move here for Ding, and you can see him taking his time. He has 5 minutes on the clock to figure this out. The other option, of course, is to move the knight away here. But taking on e5 and d4 doesn't work because the knight can take back. Knight h4 is not as forcing because then maybe bishop b7, maybe rook e6. There are moves to defend the knight. Another move which is extremely brilliant and which is very difficult for white to play, is to take on b5. Because once you take here, rook takes, and now queen a4, it's absolutely impossible to defend this piece here on b5 and c6. It's not possible. The queen cannot come in and defend. Oh, and Ding finds it. He takes on b5. What a move here by Ding Liren. And in fact, Praggnanandhaa should not rush into taking this. He should first take on b4, bishop b4, rook b5, and this is where he can play this position, takes, knight takes, and has good chances here to hold because he has a pawn for an exchange. So knight b4 definitely looking good, but Pragg has only 2.5 minutes to work this out, which is the problem now. Ding has come down to 4 minutes 14 seconds, but he's managed to create a complete mess in the position. Another possible move for Pragg is to play bishop a6. So there are two moves, knight b4, bishop a6, hitting the knight, and then if the knight moves, d3 is hanging. Well, Pragg is ready with his move. He goes bishop a6 with 2 minutes 4 seconds. Ding still has a 2-minute lead. Now only move to keep the advantage is knight d6, hitting the rook, and Ding almost going to make that move. Just makes sure and plays it. Pragg has to take the knight, pawn takes, and he takes on b4 now. Queen comes into a4, knight takes, Ding takes the bishop, and now taking this rook on c1 or e1. Both should be okay, but maybe knight c1. And you know what? We're going to reach a position where black has a rook for 2 minor pieces, but a rook and a pawn. And also the pawn on d6 is not so strong here. So maybe after rook b6, queen b8, black will be doing very, very well. At least white is better, but black would have chances to hold. So rook b6 played, 1 minute 33 seconds for Pragg, 3 minutes 46 seconds for Ding. He comes back, he defends his pawn on d6. Very important now to play queen b8 attacking here, because you also keep your rook defended on e8 so that any tactics down the e file do not work. So queen b8, an important move for Praggnanandhaa. But he makes a mistake. He plays queen f6. He's gone wrong here. Ding has 3 minutes 40 seconds to work it out that he can actually take the pawn on d4. The reason why knight d4 is not really completely winning is because Pragg can take, and bishop c3. This position might be possible to hold. So even though Ding must take the pawn on d4, it's not a guarantee that he would win the position here. Look at Ding's focus here. In spite of being under time pressure, he plays knight d4. And Pragg is ready with his move. He can take with the queen, he can take with the rook. He decides to take with the rook. And now his knight is hanging here. Also the bishop is hanging on d2. So bishop c3 is definitely a good move. Also, you can go back with your knight here on f3. He plays it, knight f3. And playing e4 does not make sense here because of rook e4. And a very important moment here is that after queen check, you can win back the rook. So that's the reason why e4 doesn't work for the time being. Pragg, down to 1 minute now, plays knight to b6, 52 seconds on the clock. Ding Liren has 2 minutes 44 seconds. Materially, black is doing fine, but now the minor pieces are just insanely powerful. Ding can move his bishop to b4, then bring his knight to d2 to e4. He plays bishop b4. Fantastic move by Ding. Where will the rook go? Rook e6. And now knight e2. Fantastic move. Knight e4 is his plan. And then the knight can jump to d6. Queen g6 played. Knight jumps in. And all of a sudden, it's too difficult for Pragg to handle everything. He blunders here with knight d5. The reason for the blunder is not one mover. Because Ding has knight d6. Pragg has seen that this is possible. But now, of course, you can't move your rook because bishop d5 is hanging. So you need to take the bishop on b4. This is important, but Ding has seen tactics so quickly. Pragg down to last few seconds, 33 moves completed. He's down to 20 seconds. He needs to make his move. Pragg, otherwise you're going to lose on time. He takes on b4. Knight takes e8 played. 9 seconds for Pragg. Plays knight c2 forks. Queen a8. King h7 played. Bishop e4. And yes, he's going to reach move number 40. But Ding is now a piece up. Completely piece up. And it's all over. What an amazing turn of events here. Ding Liren played one of the best games of his life, perhaps at least recent times, and has managed to complete. He's a bit shaky, you can see there. Plays bishop d1 because he's not in his best form, but here now he's going to do it. It feels like he's going to do it. He has 1 minute 42 seconds. He's trying to sort of play on Pragg's time. h4, rook comes in, h5, queen moves in, rook to b5, queen f6. Pragg is down to that 1 second. He's playing on 1 second. Ding now adjusts himself, plays the bishop back, queen up, queen takes h5. He takes on f5 here, and rook e5 played. Takes on e4, and Pragg resigns. Ding Liren scores an amazing win. Amazing win there for Ding. And maybe this is the comeback of the Ding that we've all been waiting for. He's managed to play an absolutely amazing game of chess there. Something that he's not been able to do in the last year or so. And Praggnanandhaa loses. Ding moves on to 2.5 points in this tournament. He gets 1.5. And well, they used to say, like when Kasparov had once said, the world is a better place when Levon Aronian plays good chess. Today, perhaps it's a good time to say the world looks like a better place when Ding plays good chess.